again to Let's Talk Marriage. This is Pastor Larry coming to you this Wednesday afternoon. Let's Talk Marriage. All right. Hope everyone is doing well. If you woke up this morning, you are doing well. All right, we're going to get right on into our subject matter on today. Our subject matter on today is ways to support your spouse. I was glancing at an article by Dr. Petra K. Ewan. I hope I pronounced that right. From 19. It's from the article is from 2020. 19. The article's from 2020. Ways to support your spouse. All right. Uh, what about the husband? Is one of the article starts out with uh, during these busy times. You know, your husband does a lot of things, and well, the good husbands do a lot of things in the household, and helping the wife out, and sometimes running the kids around, or even sometimes watching the kids, which I mean is part of his job as being a husband. But you know what? When people do things, they like to be appreciated. You want to make sure that you're supporting your spouse. You want to make sure that you are backing your spouse. You have his back and whatever endeavors he does. Ask him what he needs is what the article mentions here, and which is a good thing. You ask your husband what you need. Sometimes I say, well, whatever, honey. But my wife always asks me every day, what do you want for dinner? And she always try to make sure she fix dinner, for whatever I want, and then she'll eat it. But usually I'll say, this is whatever you want. But she always make a point of asking what I want. And here's another part here, listening to him. Some wives like to over talk their husband. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you have to make sure that you're listening to your husband. Sometimes we, as wives, we might have the correct answer to something that or subject or whatever that might come up. But you know what? It's not about having the right answer. It's how you approach or how you say to him that you have the right answer. We have to show respect to our husbands, especially in the black and brown communities. We have a tendency to women have a tendency to over expect things from their husband or expect too much from their husbands. And especially, I'm talking about the ones that have good husbands. They tend to take take it take them for granted. Just like a husband with a good wife tend to take them for granted, and we don't want to fall in that category where we taking our husbands for granted. Take his advice. This is what the article mentions here by Dr. McEwan. It says, take his advice. Sometimes we, again, might think we know more than our husband or want to, you have the wives that want to take over everything and overbearing and just want to put the husband in it. You don't know what you're talking about, in the background and not respect him. But that comes with respect when you are taking his advice. Even if it fails or whatever, as long as you took his advice and and there's a way to say, oh, it didn't work out this way, let's do it this way. There's a way that you do that. Be flexible and willing to sacrifice. Sometimes it can go both ways. Actually, it can go both ways because sometimes men are not, or husbands are not flexible and willing to sacrifice. But we're talking about the women being flexible and willing to sacrifice. Don't volunteer your husband for something without asking him. So, sometimes, well, oh yeah, he'll do it, without even asking for him, and and it's big surprise, and so you don't want that to happen. Push him to do better or be better. That's a part of encouraging your husband. You can do this, you can do that. Just like sometimes you have the husbands that don't do anything around the house, but then you have the ones that try to do things around the house and they might get criticized because it don't turn out right, or they might break something. But in order for him to learn how to do things around the house, you have to encourage him to do it. Because if you discourage him in doing it, and a next project come along, he wouldn't want to do it, and you end up spending a lot of money when there's a project that he could have very well did himself or got one of his buddies to help him out. Prime example is when we first purchased our home. I had never had a house before. It was the first home I had purchase. So a lot of the things that needed to be done in the house, I figured it out. Like nowadays, you can just Google it and figure it out. Like the basic electrical. Now I'm not telling anybody to do electrical. But anyway, the basic electrical. As long as you turn the power off, you should be fine. And you should know where those things are in your household. Like the power box, you should know how to change the filters in the furnace. Little simple things like that. If you don't know anything about the furnace or anything, just Google it. Because 9 out of 10 times that furnace that you have in your household, there you'll find it on YouTube, or if you Google it, it'll tell you how to change the filter, what to look for in the filter, and it's very simple, and it can save a lot of money. And another thing too with the dryers, you have to make sure you clean the lip trap in there. If your wife don't know how to do it, make sure that you always do it or show her how to do it, because that can cause a whole nother fire or something if the dryer gets too hot and the lint trap is clogged up or haven't been cleaned. So things like that, you have to make sure that you're supporting your husband, your spouse when he does things like that, to save money around the house. And it can be costly if you have to call someone for every little thing that you do. If you have a husband that like to tinker with stuff, encourage him, because that in the long run that could save a lot of money. And sometimes it might cost you a little money, but in the long run it will save you a lot of money. Give him a dose of reality. While I do want to push your husband to be better, sometimes you also have to be his voice of reason. Sometimes your husband might go overboard or have this wild thing. You have to figure out a way to bring him down, bring him down a notch, and say, hey, you know what? Not right now, but that's a future project. Praise him. That's what we were talking about. Encourage him. Make sure that you are encouraging your husbands, because there's so many bad husbands out there. Oh my God, it's ridiculous how, and most of them don't make any sense, but people make some sense. If you have a good husband, make sure you are supporting him. Make sure you're supporting him by one of the ways that you can support him. I've always said that is when you go out with him, make sure you look your best, because when you go out with him or even without him, you're representing your husband, and as well as yourself, and as well as the Lord, and if you're a Christian, as well as the Lord. So make sure you look your best, especially when you go out with your husband, because you don't want him to run into somebody he know, and you don't want to hear this. That's your wife? Is that your wife? You don't want to hear that. You want to say, oh, that's your wife. Oh, how you doing? So make sure you're looking your best, and when you are out with him, that's part of encouraging him, and that's part of praising him, because you want to look your absolute best. And make sure you're encouraging your husbands, because again, there's so many bad husbands out there. So if you have a good husband, just let him know every once in a while, I appreciate you, and I love you, and sometimes you don't have to necessarily say it, just show it in deeds. Remember what he likes. So this is a good one. Remember what he likes. Sometimes when you are preparing dinner, if you know your husband, you know what he likes, and you know what he doesn't like. If you don't like pork, you don't want to prepare a whole meal of pork chops, and he don't eat pork. But if he's a husband that likes spicy things, and you don't eat spicy foods, make his spicy than yours, the way you like it, make sure that you know what he likes to wear. You don't want to go buy him something pink and purple he don't wear those colors, and then you get upset because you're not wearing that pink tie you bought him. He ain't gonna wear no pink, and know what he like in modern days now. You see a lot of the guys going to baby showers and all this, things like that. uh, old school men or men that don't really care for that, they don't really go to baby showers. Like myself, I went to my grandbabies, son's girlfriend was expecting. I went to that because it was something like that. But for any other occasion, I don't generally go to baby showers. I don't. To me, that's something that I don't know. I just don't go to baby showers. Now, if you knowing what he likes, he don't like to go to baby showers. Don't try to, you know, fool him into going there or talk him into going there if you know he don't like. You know, just tell your friends, my husband don't go to baby showers or things like that. Not that there's going to be other men there. You could say, oh, there's going to be other men there. They're going to be off in another room doing whatever, watching a game or something like that. Then you might be able to get him to go. Give him some space. Oh wow, you have to. My wife has never been like this, but you have these wives that are so clingy. The husband can't move, he can't go anywhere, he can't do anything without them following up behind him, and give him some space. You should have your space. Nowadays women have what they call a she shed, and men have a man cave. If he's down in his man cave, let him have his space there, and he could be working on something for you down there, or he could just be down there resting. So just give him some space. Don't be overbearing and overshadowing him, and all standing all over him and stuff like that. Just give him some space. Sometimes that'll drive a person crazy when you're doing it. But you know what? Make sure that you give him that time, and you'll get your time. He'll give you your time. And if you have a good husband, he's going to let you have that moment where you go shopping by yourself or with your friends, and he'll keep the kids and things like that. Want to remember this? Pin this post 10 ways to support your husband. You can look up this article and pin up the ways that support your spouse. We want to make sure that we are supporting our husbands. Again, there's so many bad husbands out there. But if you have a good husband, make sure you are supporting him 100%. And ladies, just because you go to church and your husband, for some reason, does not go to church, if he's a good husband, do not put him down. You still support him. You still fix his back. Hey, fixing you nothing. You ain't go to church. No. How are you going to get him to go to church if you're acting like that? So make sure you're supporting him, even though he might not go to church. But if he goes to church, that's a big plus in your marriage. But if he does not go to church and he still supports you, he's still taking care of the household and everything like that, maybe that's his time, where his alone time or the space that he needs. So when you go to church, and there's a way to ask him, don't nag him about you go to church, there's a way of asking him if he wants to go to church with you, and then for whatever reason you might want to sit down and have the conversation as to why he does not go to church, and then you can find out why maybe he doesn't like the church you go to. Just because you grew up in the church don't mean you're still supposed to be there. I grew up in that church when I was a little child, but maybe it's time to move on. Especially if you can't get your husband to go. If you can get your husband to go, that's fine. That's all well and good. Because I know the church that I grew up in, my wife and I got married. She attended that church because she was from down south, so we were up here, so she attended the church that I went to, grew up in. So if you're trying to get your spouse to go to church, so make sure you're still supporting him. This is what this is about: is supporting your spouse. And if you find out that he does not like your church, you need to find out, have that conversation with him, find out why. If he knows the church or he's been talking to friends, let's talk about their church, and he might want to visit. Take the opportunity and visit another church with him, especially if you can get him to go. He said, I want to visit this church. Go with him. You might find out you like that church. And then he might even join that church, and then you'll be going to church as a family. But make sure we are supporting our husbands, especially those women with the good husbands. Make sure you take care of yourself, and when you go out with your husband, make sure you look your best. That way he walk with you, just proud to be with you because you're looking all good and dappered up, yeah, make sure that you're looking your best when you're with your husband. That's one of the ways that you can support your spouse. All right, I'm going to give you the information on the article. I thought it was kind of cool. It was a good article by Dr. Here it is. Dr. Petra McEwen. It was written in July 2020. 10 ways to support your spouse. Looks like she's a young couple. Her and her husband. A really nice picture of them on here. So make sure that you are supporting your spouse. And this is Pastor Larry. I'm going to be signing off until we meet again with Let's Talk Marriage. Now remember, all the music that you hear on here is from one of our apps, Whoop Triggers Plus. That's where all the music is from on here. Look it up if you have a church or sanctuary. If you don't have a musician, make sure you look up Whoop Triggers Plus. It will add good repertoire to your musical department in your church. So make sure you look that up. Again, music